another example of how different the world is, the XFL, which was struggling in recent weeks, and XFL truthers get upset when we point out how the ratings were down and attendance was down. And look, it was only going to get worse. Conference tournaments this weekend for the NCAA would have taken a bite out of the ratings. March Madness the following 3 weekends. I think reality was going to set in for the XFL until reality really set in for all of us and the XFL suspended operations. What do you think MDS is next for the XFL? They're capitalized into 2021. Now, Vince McMahon can roll out of bed any given day and say, I'm done throwing good money after bad. We can't rule that out. But what do you think happens next?
I believe it will come back for the 2021 season. I think Vince McMahon enjoys doing this. You know, he's a guy in his 70s with billions of dollars. He just wants to do what he enjoys doing with his money. And one of the things he enjoys doing is running a football league. So I think it will be back. I think that they will try to learn some lessons about making the league more exciting, the style of play more exciting. I think that although some of their rules were good, it didn't really translate to all that exciting a brand of football. And I think that they're going to have to rethink a lot of that. I think a lot of the coaches will change, and they'll try to get coaches who run more innovative offenses and try to make it more exciting that way. I think they may move into smaller stadiums because they realize how hard it is to fill an NFL-sized stadium. So there will be changes, but I think Vince McMahon wants to do this and has the money, the cash on hand that he can do it. So I would expect that we will see the XFL again next year.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think next year really becomes the test case for whether or not it's going to work. And look, they were still drawing a decent number of eyeballs on TV, even though the numbers were dropping. This past weekend's ratings were the lowest yet. They had done well from an attendance standpoint in St. Louis and Seattle. I think they need to move the LA team to San Diego and the New York team to Oakland, frankly, because that concept of being a scorned NFL city worked in St. Louis. They really need, though, to think about the places they can put these teams where it will resonate with the fan base. And I think it makes a ton of sense to be in cities that don't have NFL teams. One of the 8 teams is in a non-NFL city, and that's St. Louis. And, you know, I think you try to find a city that is big enough that you believe will support it. You know, San Antonio. Why, they got teams in Houston and Dallas, so they aren't going to put one in San Antonio, but why not put one of those 2 teams in San Antonio instead? If you find a city that can rally around a team that doesn't have anything to otherwise rally around, that's how you get people to come out. It's that simple. And if they're going to cap attendance around 20, 25,000, because if they play in these big arenas, they're only going to play in the lower bowl or only seat people in the lower bowl, then look for places like that where you can get 25 to 30,000 on a regular basis, especially since it looks a lot better on TV. And I enjoyed the game, and there were things about it that I liked. I mean, people think, oh, you hate the XFL. It's like, well, just because I'm pointing out the things that aren't necessarily positive doesn't mean I hate the XFL. I watched it every weekend. It's football and it's on TV. I love the kickoff. I like the creativity of the extra point. I have ideas for making that better. We never got to see an overtime game, unfortunately, because they took our idea for the overtime 2-point conversion shootout. But, yeah, I hope it does well. I've been skeptical, though. I don't want to fall in love with it and have it go away. And I'm still skeptical to be back next year, but I hope it will be. And, you know, we'll see. We'll see if they can attract some star players. We'll see if they have a plan for keeping star players. You know, P.J. Walker, one of the guys that's likely to be gone for the NFL. Will he be back in the XFL next year? We'll see. But I agree with you. It'll be back. And I think next year the pressure will be on to really establish a foothold and maintain it. And next year we'll find out whether or not the XFL can hold its own against the college basketball tournaments that were going to suck away a lot of their audience.
Yeah, and you know, the one other thing I would like to see the XFL do is something they talked about doing and then didn't really do, which is sign college freshmen and sophomores who aren't eligible for the NFL draft. And I don't think they'll ever be able to offer the kind of money that a Trevor Lawrence would take, because he knows, hey, I'm a year away from getting tens of millions in the NFL. But, you know, go to a wide receiver who made some big plays in a bowl game, who's a freshman or sophomore, and say, hey, we'll sign you to $100,000 right now, and make it crystal clear in your contract that as soon as you're NFL draft eligible, you owe us nothing. You can still go to the NFL, but we'll pay you a lot more money than you're making in college. And I think that would be an interesting experiment for whether they could sign some of the second tier, not the guys who are sure they're going to be first round picks in a year, but some of the guys who look like maybe mid-round picks who are freshmen and sophomores, and approach them about playing in the XFL for a year or two. I think that would be a really interesting way for the XFL to position itself as a developmental league and as a league that got some guys who we've seen before. Oh, yeah, I remember watching the Orange Bowl and seeing that guy score 2 touchdowns. That's a reason for me to tune into an XFL game.
Well, and I think that it's not a coincidence that once the XFL got a TV contract with ABC and ESPN, we stopped hearing so much chatter about them possibly signing college football players, because college football instantly will put a lot of pressure on ABC and ESPN for its partnership with the XFL, and that's why I think it's not going to happen. If the XFL hadn't, and Fox is leveraged as well with college football, I think if you're going to have TV partnerships with networks that have partnerships with college football, you've got to keep your hands off of college football players, and I think that's one of the reasons why they didn't offer a Trevor Lawrence $10 million for 10 XFL games, which I think would have been a small price to pay to guarantee intense interest in your sport. And if you're Trevor Lawrence, how do you say no to $10 million when you're getting $0.00 plus benefits, babe, from Clemson?
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.